Right, today I am out and about. I'm in the Loch Lomond and Trossachs National Park, and I have come out to collect flowers from this plant. Now this is gorse, sometimes it's known as furze, which is the Old English for it, and traditionally it was a really important plant in the domestic economy, and there are a few reasons for this. One, its wood is quite small, but also it burns without much ash. So it was really popular for bakers' ovens, because then you could get it really hot, burns really hot, but hardly any ash. The flowers, you can eat them, you can create a beautiful yellow dye with them, but also these bushes here, they're very spiky. They've got massive thorns. Let me take off a thorn. Massive thorn like that. So people planted these outside their cottages, and they could put their sheets right over the top, and it would be held by these thorns. They wouldn't blow away, and they could bleach in the sunshine. So when we've got a day like today, which is beautifully sunny, they would put it right over the top. Another interesting thing about gorse is that it smells like coconuts, but it only smells like coconuts to some people. I can't smell it, so it seems to be a genetic thing. And people say to me, it's out in the hills and it was just smelling like coconut. It was wonderful, took me right back to childhood, but I can't smell it at all. So I'm going to collect some of these flowers. I've brought myself a little box to collect them. And I wanted to talk a little bit about foraging for dye things, because the important thing is, this isn't my dye plant. This is a plant that belongs to the bees. These little flowers here are just the perfect shape for bees. So it's really important that you don't pick when there's not an awful lot. So I've walked along here until, look how much there is in this spot. And I'm just going to pick about half of this box. And this is one of the reasons that if I'm doing experiments with dyes, and if I'm using foraged dyes particularly, I will only be dyeing 20 grams of fibre. So I don't need very much. And I'm going to pick it from all different parts of the plant. So I'm not kind of going along and taking all of the flowers from a particular bit, because the bees want to come along, and gorse flower honey is a very popular thing, and I think it does have the coconut scent, but I would not be able to tell. So I'm going to pick these into my pot, and then I'm going to take them home, and I'm going to let all insects the chance to go away, which I'll show you in a bit, and then I'm going to make a wonderful dye with them. So the reason that I was out there collecting gorse is that I want to get another colour for my blanket. Now this knitted blanket is something that I have been working on for a number of years, and my idea was that I would just concentrate on plants in the garden. So it really came about through lockdown, and I would see how many different colours I could get, and I would knit them all up into a blanket. And as you can see, there turned out to be rather a lot of colours, and I thought that I had pretty much finished the blanket last year, put it on the back of the sofa. But then I realised that actually half the time it was upside down, and it really annoyed me. So I decided to make it double-sided, and I have done the first two big strips double-sided, and now I need to do another two. And I know that I don't have any gorse in this, so that is what I'm doing. But look at the colours that there actually are It's really unwieldy at the moment, but just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colours. And I think that at night, on a cold winter's night, when we're sitting reading on the sofa, wrapped in blankets, it will just be wonderful to be wrapped in all of that kind of the colours, spirit of the plants that surround us. Now, I'm going to put this well away, and I'm going to be dyeing a skein like this. This is an undyed merino wool, which all of the blanket is, because it's nice and easy. It's also a superwash, so I can put that in the washing machine should I need to, which, as I have dogs, I frequently have that need. I'm going to get my pan and my stove all set up here, and I will show you what I'm doing. Right, the first thing that I did when I got back from collecting the flowers, well, the second, after I had given all of the insects a chance to escape, the second thing that I did was I put the flowers into a pan and I poured boiling water over it. And I left it overnight, and that gives it a chance to kind of the colour come out. And you can see already the colour is really good. So now I'm putting it on to my stove, and I'm bringing it up to what I would say is a really hot, hand-hot level. So, you know, when you're doing the washing up and you fill the sink with really hot water and you put your hand and you go, oh, that's a bit hot, I'm going to have to wear gloves. That is the temperature that we are going for. And that will just bring out more and more of the beautiful golden yellow colour. I'm going to keep it at this for around about half an hour. I've got my stove on minimum, and it will just keep at that temperature. I don't want it to simmer, I don't want it to boil, just want to keep it really, really hot. Now, there are a couple of people had got in touch to say, could I do a more kind of step-by-step tutorial so that they can follow along? And what I'd say is that if that is what you're looking for, that is exactly what I do in the Studio Club. Everything's very step-by-step. There are lots of photos, lots of going through really slowly and with downloads. But I don't feel that I can do exactly the same here. Partly, you know, it is the way I earn my living, but also there are hundreds of people who pay to be a member of the Studio Club, and it wouldn't really be very fair to them. So if you're looking for that very step-by-step, I suggest that you check out the Studio Club. It's $9.95 a month, and there are supported places if that is too much money for you. So money really shouldn't be the barrier to it. It's all set up so that everybody can join in, and I will put all of the details underneath this. So if you're looking for very detailed tutorials and also the chance to ask me questions live in the forum, that is where you should go, and all the details are underneath this. Right, this has been steeping for about half an hour, and I'm just going to check how well the dye is doing. I have a funnel here, and it's got a bit of cloth to catch flowers, and it's just going into a pickle jar. If I pour it, we should see we're getting a nice yellow colour. And it could be, you know, that I decide this isn't strong enough, though it does look rather nice actually. And I could either put more flowers in with it, or I could keep these flowers in for even longer, because there is still quite a lot of good yellow in them. Right, so I will wipe out the pan. It's quite hot, because I'm just going to put the dye straight from that pickle jar back into the pan. There, let that drip. You can see that the flowers are all just caught in my little bit of net. And the flowers can go on the compost heap, and I can reuse the net. Right. So now pick up this, which is really good colour, and pour it back in to there. And I'm going to add a little bit of water because I want to be able to put my wool in. So this is my mini skein of wool. It started off like this, and I have mordanted it with aluminium potassium sulfate at 8%. And then I have rinsed it and wrung out the excess water. So this is just damp. And I'm going to squash it in my hands and put it into this pan here. Actually, I'm going to leave the pan to cool a little bit before I put the wool in. I don't want it to go. So I will be back in 10 minutes. Right, the water in my dye pan is much more bearable now. So I'm going to gradually put this wool in. You can maybe see the nice golden yellow that it's coming. Right. Move my ring all the way round. And immediately, look, it's a really nice yellowy colour. But I'm going to just leave that. I'm probably going to leave that for 4 or 5 hours. I'll put a lid on it and I will put a towel around it so that that heat goes very, very slowly. But I won't need to heat it up in the pan at all. So it's possible to do this stage just in your pickle jar and just really wrap it tightly in nice warm things, and it will keep that heat in. So it's been a few hours, and I'm going to unwrap my pan here and see what colour we have. I think that one of the problems, or one of the things rather, that you see when you take up dyeing is quite how much heat it takes and quite how much water. So there are lots of people are trying to kind of make their dye practice less heat intensive and less water intensive. So here, look at this. This is actually pretty amazing. It's like iron brew. It is the most golden orange. Now I must say this is the best or the most intense colour that I have had from Gorse so far. So I am now going to rinse this and hang it up to dry, and then let's see what colour it is when it's all dry. Right, pop all of that back in there. And it looks to me as though there's still a lot of dye in that. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in another skein. I'm going to soak it because I've got lots of ready mordanted pieces. I'll soak it and then I'll pop it in there and see what we get. But first, I'll go and rinse this. And here we are. Look at the colour of that, all from gorse flowers. And I think for me, the absolute thrill of creating colour with natural plants, particularly the plants which grow where I live, the plants that I see every day, is that natural dyes are so rooted in Scotland. We have amazing tweeds, we have the history of tartan, where so many of those colours would have originally been coming from the plants and the ground around people. And I feel that when you live here, that is something that you really feel. So to be able to take what was, 30 grams of gorse flowers and to make myself some wool that is such a vibrant colour, which can go into my blanket to keep me warm in the winter. That feels really special, really, really special to me. Anyway, I am now going to go and soak some more wool, put it in this dye pot. It might come out a lighter colour, which will give me a wider range of colours. And I will see you next week. Now, hopefully, my plan for next week is that I am going this Friday, actually. So today, when you're watching this, I am going to see my friend Jill, who is an amazing artist who lives in an amazing place. Now, Jill lives 40 miles away from me, and I'm going for lunch, and it's going to take me 2 and a bit hours to drive there. Now, if that was a city, you'd think, oh, that's because of terrible traffic. But here, it's because the road will wind and wind and wind and be really slow, and the scenery is amazing. So hopefully, while you're watching this, I will have my camera all packed up, and I've got lots of stops on the way planned. And then Jill has said that she will give us a tour of her absolutely gorgeous little cottage on the west coast of Scotland. So that will be next week. And until then, have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.